I'm a sponge to energy. I'm super empathetic. And again, it's not because I choose to be, it's just who I am. And touring is intense, dude. So I carry these books with me. Now I make it easier on myself. I put them all on my iPad. But I meditate every single morning. I have a million breath techniques that I do. I do Wim Hof sometimes. I do, but yeah, my mental health and my physical health is definitely my
That's cool.
my number one.
Shit's about to go down.
Yeah, right.
I'm feeling something in my spirit.
Chats and Tats with Della Vedova.
Hey everybody, welcome to Chats and Tats with me, your host, Della Vedova. I am here with a special guest today. He's a musician, he's a drummer, he's an amazing drummer, and you're going to get all the links to see what this man can do with his hands and his sticks. It's mind-blowing. I'm not a drummer at all. I kind of always wanted to be a drummer, I think secretly, but I literally sit on this dude's Instagram for 40 minutes a day just watching him pound these things. He's very talented. So without further ado, I would like to welcome my guest today, Tanner Wayne.
Thank you for having me, my man. Appreciate it. Kind words.
Well, you are, dude. I mean, I was serious too when I said I've always secretly, I wanted drums my whole life. My dad wouldn't buy them. My mom, no, it was one of those things. We're not giving this kid some fucking drums and keep us up all night. But I'm the tapping on the steering wheel guy. I have these little magic moments where I'm like, I've got it. I could have been a drummer. I know it. And when I listen to music, honestly, I listen to the drums a lot. It's what the part of the song that I hear. Am I going to be a drummer? Most likely not. I'm 51 years old. I put my flag in the sand already. Who knows? Maybe I'll do it as a hobby in 10 years. But
yeah, we can start lessons.
Yeah.
Teach me to tattoo and teach you to drum.
Man, okay. We'll talk after the show.
I'll just draw stick figures, but maybe that'll be my thing. I'll be the stick figure guy.
I'll just sit there and do the most unbalanced sort of drumming you've ever heard, and you have to cover your ears.
Perfect.
Even Steven.
Yeah.
No, but it's something that I really do respect and love is drumming and the art you guys do. Why don't we start off with a little bit about how you end up here? I mean, not many people, a lot of musicians out there, not many of them do it for a job. Usually they're bartending or something else. But I mean, you are a professional drummer, and I should mention to everybody out there, he's in 3 bands. Right now, I think the biggest of which would be In Flames, really popular. We'll talk about what you guys are up to. Hollows, another one, and Night Fiends. So these links will, again, be at the end of the show. But these are the bands you're currently playing with and touring with. But before we get to what you're doing with those groups, maybe talk a little bit about where you're from and how you became a drummer. How did this happen for you?
Yeah, well, how I became a drummer, I was just watching, funny enough, Anthony Kiedis was on Joe Rogan. And I saw some clip last night, and he was talking about how it's not most of the time of like a professional musician becoming a professional and like getting the opportunity to like get to this place, like where I'm at even is, it's not by accident most of the time. Like for me, I grew up in a musical house. Just like most families, you're listening to music early on. Beyond that, my dad is a drummer, bassist, guitarist, singer. So by the time I was born, he was already ripping, he's probably started when he was in his, 11, 10, 11, whatever. There's always music around him as well. And then, I grew up with guitars and drums always being around.
Music in the family.
Yeah. I think he just let it happen. Like, I wish I like had footage or knew more specifically how it went down. But when I was 9, I jumped on the drum set and he said I had it. I don't know what that means. I would have killed. I should ask him today, like, what do you mean? But he just said, like, he showed me something and I had it immediately. And which was like, to this day, I teach people, and that's not really a thing. He might be blowing smoke, you know what I mean?
I have to jump on that real quick and say something, because I had exactly the same moment in my life, because people say, how did you become not so much a tattooer, but an artist? Because I was drawing and since I was little. Same thing. I had an uncle who I looked up to. He was the coolest guy I knew. And I was drawing something one day, and he picked it up and said, "You're an artist." He was like, "I can't believe you drew that. You're an artist." And I don't know if it was good. It probably wasn't. But in my mind, the coolest guy I knew just told me I was an artist. And that was it. I was like, oh, that's what I am. And I was an artist for the rest of my life.
Imagine if someone told you the opposite, the effect that has.
That's my point, right?
Yeah.
Your dad, who you obviously idolized and looked up to and considered a very talented musician, said, you got it. And as far as you were concerned, why wouldn't you believe him?
Yeah.
So that always is the question, though. Did you have it, which you're saying is really rare to see at that age, you wouldn't be able to tell, or is it more of a decision you made?
Yeah. And who knows? I must have had it a little bit though. And
Right.
there's drummers that I meet that are 20 years deep, and there's just something about their lack of rhythm and timing, and it's just there is some sort of innate thing when it comes with musicians. And again, my dad played, so he will always take credit for me being a drummer. He is a drummer. But I mean, I immediately, especially because your mind's such a sponge at that age, I immediately went into lessons. If it wasn't for my parents encouraging me, my parents buying me a drum set, my parents buying me lessons, I wouldn't be here. There's absolutely no way. You know what I mean? And that's what Anthony Kiedis was kind of talking about is the family vibe of that. Because again, when I'm 9 and 10, I can't afford a drum set. I can't afford lessons. You know what I mean? So like, I'll forever give it to my parents, and they still come to the shows and everything. Like they're the most supportive. And I tell my students that, and I tell my students' parents that it's literally on you guys. Because again, no 9-year-olds running around with drum set money, you know? So that shit is huge.
So important. Yeah. All you people listening, if you got kids, be careful what you say to them and how you support them.
And choose a different instrument than drums, because maybe piano, because piano is more beautiful on the way to that. I tell people that too, and that's probably fucked up, but I'll be like, oh, you don't want drums. Piano is cool though. Like it'll be really beautiful for you to hear them play, Twinkle Twinkle Little Star forever.
Drums just to a kid, they look like the funnest. You get a
Oh,
bang
of course,
on
yeah. And unlucky for my dad, I don't know what kind of electronic kits existed at that point, because that would have been the ticket for
put
him.
headphones on and bang all night.
Yeah, but my dad was also pumped on it, just like I'm gonna be if my kid wants to play music or is
He was a
interested.
drummer.
I'm gonna be so hyped and buy him, of course. You know what I mean? Like, and my dad's always raised us to buy it once, not buy it bad or whatever that sentiment
good
is.
shit.
Yeah. So my dad was always like, he wasn't buying me the Toys R Us kit. Like he bought me a cool starter kit, and he was pushing us, and then from there you like start meeting kids who just picked up the guitar too, and you're just discovering music on your own too. So it's literally like that's all it was for me in school from that moment. Probably 7th grade, it was all music, which was probably not the greatest because school was second always, or third if you count family and all that stuff. But and then I just started meeting friends and doing battle of the bands at school, creating any band with anyone, just jamming. So inspired by like what music was happening at that time too. And we live in like one of the greatest music cities ever for bands coming out of here. So it was a perfect storm of like, I was into Blink-182, and here's the example of being a career musician in my face. And they lived where I lived pretty much, like in North County,
Right.
So it's the perfect storm of I'm learning my instrument. I need something to inspire me the entire time. And it was like,
And having a successful band in your neighborhood kind of makes it real.
Exactly.
It doesn't
attainable.
sound like a fairy tale.
Yeah.
If you lived in, Iowa, that's where I'm from actually. But if you were out there in the cornfields, they would be more of like, oh yeah, there's people somewhere out there that do that. But that's not me. I live in a cornfield in Iowa, but you had it right there. Like, this is real. This can be done.
When I was 16, I drove down to 4th and B. I don't know if that's there anymore. Do you know 4th and B?
Oh, yeah, I remember. I don't know if it's there.
I don't know if went down there, sat with Blink-182 in the parking lot and talked to them for hours, which I still to this day don't know how they were willing to do that with 15, 16-year-olds. You know what I mean? Because like, you won't catch me outside of my bus for hours talking to 16-year-old dudes, like inspiring them. That's major. You know what I mean?
That's rad. Yeah, I used to work at a shop in San Diego, Avalon Tattoo, and Tom used to get tattooed by Randy Jansen, and I was right next to that booth, so I hung out with him a bit. Nice guy.
Yeah,
really
I
nice.
mean,
I hope to have him on the show actually.
Yeah, Tom, come on, man.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm driving through Rancho. I grew up in Solana Beach, so I'm literally driving probably from Guitar Center, picking stuff up, and Tom's crossing the street. Just that kind of stuff. They did a whole record. I think it was their self-titled. They did the whole record at my friend's girlfriend's house. They rented out her house in Rancho, and they did the whole record there. I unfortunately didn't get to go. Everyone else did. But that's how close. And I think again, like having that, like you couldn't beat that type of inspiration that was completely fueling my fire. You know what I mean? And that the inspiration to fuel your fire, your interest in it is like number one. You know what I mean? Like if you
enthusiasm.
if your enthusiasm about art or music is whatever, you don't meet people that are successful now with a creative that didn't have that kind of push and that kind of inspiration.
I always say that, man, enthusiasm is the fuel for success. I mean, You can work all you want, but if you aren't feeling pumped up and just on fire about something, you're never going to be great at it. You might be good at it, but you're not going to be great.
And that's huge. I mean, we just did 41 shows in 55 days or something like that. You know what I mean?
God.
And there's a healthy, not jadedness with it, but there's a healthy, like, you get into such a routine that you have to kind of keep inspired and motivated. And for me, I'll watch a music documentary, which you would think I wouldn't want to watch in that moment. I'm in my bunk. I've been on tour for 7 weeks and I'm watching tour documentaries. But that's what will
Lights
keep
the
me.
fire
Yeah.
again.
Like, oh yeah, this is why I do it type of vibe. You know what I mean? Cause we're beaten up. We're not sleeping good. We're some shows aren't that great. Some shows aren't ours and they're kind of flipping us off and whatever. You got to keep that.
Wow.
I'm like barely on a leash with myself that I go ape shit and I change my drums every single night on stage.
Oh.
But you got to be tasteful because some drummers just get carried away with trying to have their own fun on stage you have to make sure the audience is having a good time, accepting the music for what it is, what it needs to be, the delivery that you want, to deliver and paying respect to the older songs. You know what I mean?
That's another aspect to musicians that I don't deal with as an artist as well is you're in a team. You got bandmates. You got to play nice together. It's a lot of personalities to have to get along and mesh and vibe, and it ruins a lot. I mean, you can have a lot of good musicians coming together, but the thing never happens just because that didn't happen.
Yeah, imagine every piece you had to do it with somebody or with three people.
4 other tattooers.
Yeah.
We all had to agree on the color choices and on the design choices. I don't know if that would work in my world.
Probably not. Yeah. I mean, there's good and bad to all of it. Like I've only been a full-time actual member, business partner, all that, only in a couple bands. With In Flames, Anders and Bjorn, the singer and the guitarist, they're the band owners. They've been in this band since 95. So
I didn't know it was that old.
Yeah. So there's a benefit of like, people ask us all the time, how do you choose a set list? Anders does. With most things, too many chefs in the kitchen is too many chefs in the fucking kitchen. So there is good stuff with In Flames that like, and I respect the shit out of it for what they've done to this point. And like we just did a record, and the way the songwriting went was Bjorn, our guitarist, writes it. I always make food references. It's as if I'm at Cold Stone. It's an ice cream chain. He gives me vanilla, and I do whatever the fuck I want it. You know what I mean? Like I'm adding all the shit. And I'm lucky enough that he gave me the space because I can be a marionette if that's what the position I'm in. And that happens a lot of the time. And you have to be able to be a musician like that, where they come in, they say, this is what you're going to fucking do. No, like this. No, like this. You do it. And that's a part that you have to learn as a musician too. It's not always going to be do whatever the fuck you want, especially if you want to do this for a career. He gave me pretty simple ideas in a sense of very, very basic drum layout. And then I did whatever the fuck I wanted. And I'm like lucky and honored that he let me do that on their 14th record. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm confident that those are some of the most original drums that have been on their records, just because I think it's because they gave me that freedom. And they didn't put me into a box of what they needed it to be, and they trusted me, and I think we came out with something awesome. But yeah, it's a trip to watch these guys do what they do, because it's not the recycled material either, you know what I mean? It just comes from the most Swedish metal place, which is also like a very random and very, specific genre.
You guys tour in America? You do.
I just did 8 weeks here, yeah, but it's not the same. And like I'm a victim of potentially why one of the reasons it isn't the same is like I watched this band Paramore on YouTube the other night, and I was having a blast. Smoking with my lady, we're watching, oh shit. And I'm sitting there going, this is why I don't go to concerts. It's so accessible now. Like why would I drive 50 minutes or an hour?
Why are they doing it in Europe?
Yeah, so in Europe, you go and see these people, and it's they're at church. It's easier to tour here in more ways than one. But yeah, in Europe, they're not getting as many shows.
Well, Europeans too. I've traveled a bit through Europe. They're a lot more about getting out and experiencing life than Americans.
100%.
I mean, they don't even work 12 months out of the year. That's like laughable to them. They work, 8. Yeah. Everybody has 2 to 4 months off a year to travel and to taste food and to see sights. And so it does make sense that they would be the types that would make it out to the shows in bigger numbers.
And I've never even thought of that, but that's real. You know what I mean? Like, how often have you walked down wherever you've been in Europe, and you can just see that people are just soaking up reality. They're in the present moment. America's sadly at times not as much. You know what I mean? And we take a lot of shit for granted.
Americans do seem to be a lot more concerned with work than play. We were heavily focused on work in this country. Like, you know, it's a proud thing to tell somebody, I work 60 hours a week for 3 months straight. Oh, you did, bro? You're a badass. Really? Why would you want to admit that? Sounds like you've forgotten how to live life.
Yeah.
You should be embarrassed that you work 60 hours a week.
And I saw they're implementing new laws or new work things in, I don't know where it was. Might have been in Sweden. But throughout Europe in regards to, I think they're trying to do 3 and 4 day weekends and less time at work, just generally less time at work that they're trying to implement out there.
Love these people.
Yeah.
Look at this, making it a law.
Yeah, right?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to move over there.
Yeah, same.
Well, that's rad. So how long you been with these guys?
So it's been like 4.5 years. Yeah.
And the album came out when?
So the album will come out, which is perfect in timing with this. It comes out in February.
Oh, it's not out
Not
yet?
out.
Oh,
No.
in February.
Yeah.
So you're touring you're playing the album.
What's happening right now is all the bands are releasing music around now. So we
Because
wanted
COVID created like a backed up situation.
Yeah.
Okay.
So now they're all releasing.
So you're going to wait. I get it.
Yeah. So it has its own time. Like Slipknot just came out with their record. And for me, that's not, I don't have to think about that kind of stuff. Oh, who's releasing what? Again, that's another gift of being, a hired on musician is like, I don't have to make those decisions. So when they say, hey, we're going to do it in February, awesome. Like, yeah, it gives it its own moment to shine, and it's not being compared to others, and it's not charting in accordance with other bands and stuff. It just,
Or getting lost in the mix of a bunch of bands coming out simultaneously.
because a bunch of bands did that stuff in 2020. And like, I feel so bad for them. We're lucky enough that we didn't put a record out in 2020, but a lot of people put out records in like February or January of 2020. I was talking to this one band. I won't mention him because, but he was saying how bummed he was about the new record because he goes, yeah, the new record's whatever, but I put my heart and soul into this one and no one gave a fuck. No one paid attention to it. I didn't get to tour it. Just disappeared because of COVID.
Let me ask you about touring, because this is something I've heard, but I don't know how true it is, but it's got to be true. So, many years ago, bands made a lot of their money off making records, and it switched more to touring. Like you make your money more nowadays from playing live.
Yeah.
And of course, merchandise and things like that. Is that true?
Yeah, 100%.
The money in releasing an album like Led Zeppelin did is gone.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
What's the split? Like if you had to, there's 100% of money there. Is 80% tour, 20% selling? I guess it's not even selling records. Is it how many clicks you get on iTunes? Is that how you get paid? Or?
No, unless you own your shit. But like, I can't speak 100% confidently because I don't run that side. But I know some friends that do own all their shit. So every stream that they get is theirs. And mind you, the stream split's horrific. I don't know if you've seen any of that shit. Like if you're a Spotify artist, it's like horrible. It's like 0.00, who knows? It's fucked up.
That's what the artist gets.
Yeah.
And they keep
stream.
the rest.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Like, so for that, it's fucked anyways. But like, I know as a metric that like with Night Fiends, who's just me and my buddy Elliot, like I'm kind of surprised at the money we've made from a couple 100,000 streams. So
if you own it.
Yeah. So if you do own it, which is extremely rare, because the label owns it, whoever owns it, you know what I mean? If you do own it, you can make good money, but that's not how this shit goes. Like if you're on a label and whatever, it's very rare that you're holding your streams, you know what I mean? So if you're that type of band and you're able to be a bigger band and you own all your shit and you can make a good living for sure. But from what I know, most of it is when you sign on to do a record, you get paid X and then you have to pay that back and so on and so forth. But that's not the focus of like monetarily where you're going. It's booking shows, selling merch at those shows, and it's definitely tours and stuff.
In the end, you're a musician, but musicians are performers.
Yeah.
And it seems like full circle has happened. Back in the way, 500 years ago, how did a musician make money? There was only one way. He got out his little violin out the back of a covered wagon and played at the center of town, and people threw coins in his little box. That was it. And then it slowly morphed into make an album, release an album, become a multi-millionaire. And now it seems like it's coming back to that full circle moment of like, you're a performer, you want to get paid, go perform. Like me as a tattooer, it's sort of, I deal with this a little bit because I'm not a painter. Painters can make prints, they can do art shows. There's all these avenues of revenue for like a painter or a sculptor. But I do tattoos, and I put it on a person, I get paid for doing the tattoo, and that's all I'll ever be paid for. That's just how it works.
Yeah.
So there's honesty to it. I'm not saying it's fair. It probably isn't. I know it isn't, actually. We all hear about the pillaging and raping that happens in the music industry and the film industry. You guys are taken advantage of routinely.
Yeah.
But it does feel kind of weird how it started that way and it's coming back to that way,
The idea that I'm not making what I should, or that we're not getting paid enough to create our music, you can't really, unless you go and create your own biz and you're selling your own music and you have no label and you're doing it all yourself, you're a victim to whatever the process is. And or that's even against what I'm saying here. You don't have to be a victim. You can just do your thing and accept how stuff is going. Back in the day, this is why people like Fred Durst and Limp Bizkit and whoever else can probably still retire now, because they had deals where they probably got paid really well up front and then they got CD sales. We don't have that shit anymore. No. You know what I mean? Now I can go to my car after this and download 40 albums. And what the fuck does that cost me? What, my monthly subscription to Apple Music? It's so bizarre, but I don't think about it. Because again, I play that game. I don't buy people's music. I'm sorry. I don't really know anyone who does. I have Apple Music. I don't care to have Spotify. I got one. Cool. And I pay on the family plan too. That shit's fucked up.
Yeah.
If you think about it, my whole family's paying $15 a month for unlimited music.
Right.
That is insane to me. That makes no sense.
It's such an interesting subject. There's so many angels and devils in it, It's hard to really come up with this is my final opinion about it, It's got its ups, it's got its downs.
In terms of accessibility, what if then they probably will eventually come out with some machine that I could just print my tattoo on my body myself. And it hurts for 3 seconds. Where's the use of you, the organic, you know what I mean? You're the CD and this is the stream now, and I can just whatever,
they actually have those. They have that. It's a little CNC tattoo machine. Of course, it can't go around your arm and do a sleeve.
Yeah.
You lay your arm in there and it kind of locks your wrist and locks your elbow, and it can just, and it'll put this perfect little tattoo.
Really?
Whatever. Yeah, they've got it. I don't know. I haven't seen it in public being used, but I saw it online, and apparently it works. And I have no doubt that technology could get to a point where they could do a full, some robotic situation where it could really do it. Luckily, I doubt I'm going to be a victim of that. It's going to be a ways out. So, and to that point, I was hanging out with a friend of mine years ago. He's a glass blower. Went to Sweden, learned with some of the best. And I was in his glass blowing shop, and he just looked at me and he goes, "You're so lucky, dude." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "You realize this piece of glass I just blew? I try to sell this at my glass shop for $450. It's a hand blown vase. There's ones at Target right now that look almost just as good for $15. They can reproduce it in China in these factories. They can make vases from glass in these factory things. They can make prints of art they make prints now that have blobs of paint on them. You can feel them. It's like, is that a real painting? No, I got it at Z Gallery. So the painters are kind of getting technologies taking over their craft. The sculptors, they've got CNC machines that can make 10-foot tall sculptures. They've got things that can make glass blowing. And on down the list we go. And then you get to tattooing. And he's like, "You're so lucky. They have to come to you still. There's no way around it." And I'm like, I never thought of it that way. Oh, man.
Tore this person's fucking arm in half and whatever. But that's intriguing. But I'm to the point now where I'd be like, yeah, sure, whatever, blast me. Okay, cool. But hopefully, I don't see that becoming like a norm for decades and decades and decades.
To some degree, that's the life of artists, right? We all, at some point, choose knowing we're entering a field where we might run out of money. So might not have money. I mean, I remember saying that when I became a tattooer. My dad's like, "Why would you do that?" You talked about the money part of it, and my response was, "I don't give a fuck. I just need enough for a shitty apartment and food, and I think I can do it." Because it was more about that. And then the industry boomed into what it is today, and I got lucky enough to make some money. But I was, and I'm sure every artist says that at some point. It's like that do or die moment. Like, are you willing to die for this? Are you willing to starve? And you kind of have to be able to be enthusiastic enough and passionate enough to be like, yeah, I am. And that's when the doors start opening.
Yeah, fuck yeah. I didn't make money to be able to live somewhere and support myself for, who knows, man, maybe 8 years of doing this. As much as I want to be like, no, bro, for sure. Me too. I was living in some shitty apartment. I'd fucking come to my dad. Hey, can I get $20 for food? Because I'm fucked. You know what I mean? And again, on my first tours, I don't know how I would have survived unless my dad was giving me $20 a day.
You had a dad who was a musician who knew the plight you were in.
Exactly.
Intimate. A lot of parents would be like, I told you not to be a fucking drummer.
What are you doing,
dumbass.
dude? Go get a job or like whatever. They must have been anywhere from $100 to $500 a show is what my band was making. And like, I remember we got offered to play like this high school snowboard trip. Every high school does like this special snowboard trip. And I don't know where we went, Salt Lake or Tahoe, or wherever we were. They offered us $2,000 and we were like, holy shit. That's how like little money we're making. You know what I mean? And as much as I want to be like, oh, for sure, I'll die for this shit. And I was definitely in the mindset of fuck money, but at the same time, if I needed $100 to get by, my parents fucking had my back. And lucky for my dad too, he raised me to be a man and pay him back on every single thing he's ever lent to me in my entire life. Getting to where you are as an artist or me as a musician, there's definitely, you have to be in some sort of healthy realm, not doing it for the money.
I believe that the universe has some kind of firewall set up on purpose to reward those who are willing to lean that hard.
Yeah.
You have to have you have to have some balls. I'm sure in those 8 years, you probably had so many times where you were like, well, I could go do this for a living.
Shit, a year and a half ago or even a year ago, I was working for Amazon. A year ago. I'm in flames right now. Give a fuck. I had to fucking survive. You know what I mean? So that was an unfortunate part of all that is like, as I'm struggling and doing all this shit, I've never had a backup plan. Being obsessed with Blink-182 during my teen years is that's how Travis Barker was. He literally got his knuckles and his neck tattooed as quick as he could because he called them job stoppers, and he did it so that he didn't have to get a job. My parents would kill me, and they still say to this day, if I tattoo my hands, fingers, neck, face, whatever, they're going to be so fucking sad because I love them so much. I haven't done it yet, but when I make my first million, I will.
And they'll be okay with it.
And they'll love it. It'll say mom somewhere on there, and they'll fucking love it. But you got to reel it the fuck in because there was moments I had $200 to my name. And I go out and buy weed with it. My dad's like, what the fuck are you doing? And again, there's definitely a pinch of like, I'm doing that because you'll probably save my ass when I'm in fucking trouble. But either way, the all-in sentiment was there. You know what I mean? With still paying respects to my parents.
That's true. When I opened my first tattoo shop, I basically set it up to where if it didn't work, I was going to be destitute. And my dad loved it. He was a businessman his whole life. He's like, that's great. I thought he was going to say I was being irresponsible, but he's like, it's great because you've got no back door now. So guess what happens when you have no back door?
Yeah.
You're going to be giving it fucking everything you've got every day. And it was true. It was almost like I was fighting for survival, which I kind of was.
Yeah.
But if I had a rich grandpa that was like, oh, here's $80,000. If you make some money, pay me back someday. I probably would have went to work a little less, and it would have been different.
Yeah.
But because I had everything on the line, I had a wife, I was trying to buy a home. I'm like, oh my God, this either works or I sink.
Yeah. You can surf on people's couches and crash at your parents sometimes, but eventually it's like, okay. I think entering your 30s and being a professional musician still is like insane. Like to be able to do that is like, you got to be, a lot of gratitude for being able to do that.
That's cool, dude. I love it. I love your story. My dad was a contractor too, by the way. That's
awesome.
Funny. We share that in common.
Sick.
Yeah. I grew up pouring concrete, helping him and all that stuff.
Yeah.
You probably relate too. I brought a lot of work ethic to tattooing that wasn't there with a lot of the dudes I worked with. They were just guys that, I don't know, it felt like they didn't have hard jobs when they were young. So they would come in and whine about a 10-hour day tattooing. And I was in there like, dude, have you ever poured concrete in Vegas? 115 plus the humidity coming off the cement. I'll sit in here and tattoo all fucking night. Like, this is easy.
See, and I wish I worked construction for 2 years for my dad, and I wish I had that worker bee bone in his body that he has. You know what I mean? I'm a lazy bitch. I want to go play drums. I want to go fucking play drums. Let's go fucking play drums.
It can work either way. It can. I know.
And thankfully, as much as I say I'm lazy and shit, my girlfriend will always correct me and be like, dude, I know when it comes to music shit, I'll work my fucking ass off all day.
I'm just going to add that. I'm sure you put your time in when it comes to your craft.
Yeah. What is it, 10,000 hours or whatever it is?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I definitely.
You've doubled that number.
I have to say and admit, yeah, I definitely work.
I see it on your Instagram. You're always alone in wherever you're in your house, I guess, just beating on those things. Like,
yeah.
Every day, right? What's your routine? Do you have a...
I wish I wasn't as honest with people as I am, because people ask me sometimes, you know, what are you doing? It's like, I could be like, oh, I'm in there every day, brother. Fuck no, I'm not. Like, I got a wrist brace on. No, I'll go
What's
in.
up with the wrist?
I have gnarly tendonitis. Yeah.
From drumming, obviously.
Yeah. You're supposed to hit like this
Mm-hmm.
and not like this. So eventually it's called Dr. something's tendinosis, and it's the tendon that's attached to your thumb. And again, as a drummer, if you're hitting like this all the time, you're just fucking that tendon up.
Have you done any research on stem cell injections?
No, but I have friends who have done it. I was talking with Steve-O about it, and he's not my friend. But I was hanging out with Steve-O and he was there. Danny Way, skateboarder, he goes and gets that done.
A lot of people have I don't know if it works on the thumb. I know a lot of people had them in their shoulders, and they're fucking 100%.
That would be
from torn labrums
way
and stuff.
sicker. Yeah.
Well, later after the show, whenever, my wife owns a medical spa up in Carlsbad, and we have
You got stem cells?
I'm sorry?
You got some stem cells for me?
Yeah.
Sick.
Yep. And I have a Dr. Christensen. He's our kind of naturopathic doctor.
Yeah, I'd love to talk to someone and get an opinion on that kind of stuff. That's definitely the new wave, right?
He works with Lieben.
Sick.
Yeah, those two work together. I don't know if he's injected him. I don't know with stem cells, but I know they do it, and they have a lot of luck. So, technology's changing every day, dude. Don't give up hope.
Yeah. I've seen Danny Way has so many fucking injuries, like knees, hips, everything. And I've seen his progress with the stem cell stuff, and it's pretty crazy.
I actually did a stem cell drip 4 years ago where they put umbilical cord. They're called mitokysal stem cells into a bag. There's like 20 million of them, and they just drip them right into your arm. And wow, I'm doing it again soon, in fact. So that was incredible. I've never felt like that.
You went out and lifted a car, threw it over
I felt
your
like
head.
I could.
What did you feel like? Energy?
This is back, maybe more than 4 years, 5 years ago. People were flying down to South America to do it. It was like...
That's where I'm still seeing people do stem cell stuff.
Yeah, well, you don't have to anymore. People think that they don't do it. It's all good here now. You can do it all here. But and I had been doing some research on it, and I looked into going to South America, and then I heard it was like $30,000. I'm like, well, I'm not doing that. And then I realized they wouldn't even take you unless you are sick. They were just treating sick people. I'm like, I just want performance enhancement. I just want to see how good I'll feel. Anyway, found a doctor. I won't mention his name now, but because I don't know if you would want me to, because when he was doing it, I don't know how legal it was, but he did it. And so I got home. I felt tired. I went to bed. I slept 14 hours. I woke up. My wife's like, you just slept 14 hours straight. I'm like, whoa, man, what day is it? And then I was groggy for a few hours. And then as I woke up, I felt good. And the next day I felt fucking great. And for like 2 weeks, I felt like I was on cocaine. I was so up, it was scaring me. I'm like, I was sleeping 2 hours a night. I was cranking out back piece drawings. I was painting. I was just like, la. And eventually that calmed back down. And what I say is I went way up here. And when I came back to level, I think I operated for a good year or two at 20% above in every way, creatively, physically, every way.
Wow.
I felt better. And I just kind of been busy since then. I haven't done it again, but I did also do blood. I did blood. So I did I had a whole blood panel done, a spectrocell analysis before I did them. I waited 3 months and did a second one, and my inflammation marker went down by like 4 points, which the doctors I was dealing with were like, dude, we put people on immaculate diets and exercise routines, and we're lucky to drop it 1 point.
Wow.
You dropped 4 points.
And you're eating California burritos.
Yep. And partying.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm no doctor. I don't know if it's great or not. All I can tell you anecdotally is I felt fantastic. And I did see that blood work. So we actually, the new stuff is they're called exosomes. They're the mitokysal stem sell. They're the next generation. They're better. I don't know why. It's a long story, but I'm gonna be getting some of those soon for myself. We'll talk later about all this. You should come up there and drip with me. Get NAD drips up there. This shit fucking makes you feel good.
My lady's taking. My lady was talking about that. She's been looking into that. She takes the vitamin because that's what she can afford.
Yeah, the vitamin drips are great too.
Yeah,
just
well, she's taking the vitamin like wherever she bought it.
NAD vitamins.
It was like expensive as shit. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even know they did an oral version. NAD.
Yeah, some sort of oral. But she was talking about like fuck. She was trying to inform me about it. Yeah, you'll have to inform me.
Well, yeah, let her know. You can come up and take it straight to the blood vein, which is the way I think you're probably like anything orally. You're getting a little bit.
Blast me up, dude. Yeah. Sick. Freaking guinea pig. Whatever, dude.
Well, look. Let's talk tattoos for a minute.
Yeah.
Okay, let me start with this. You get tattooed at Guru Tattoo. Mm-hmm. This is the shop I own that I work at. You've been getting a massive tattoo by Sean Dorfler on your front. Yep. So dope, by the way.
Yeah.
Is that your biggest project as of yet?
Fuck yeah.
I mean, it's everything. Yeah. It's your shoulders down to your thighs.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't... Any other piece... I guess my leg sleeve was a leg sleeve in first idea, but like even my sleeves, they were never...
One big execution.
I was never like that. You know what I mean? I booked this before COVID hit. So once it hit, I'm like, I don't have any fucking money for this shit. So, and I told them, like it is what it is. And it's like the last fucking thing I need to be doing right now during COVID times, not having a job for a year and a half, 2 years, is getting fucking tattooed. Like I don't make the kind of money to where for 2 years I can just go on vacations and fucking get tattooed. Even though I did go on vacations and get tattooed.
Somehow you pulled it off.
But yeah, I just don't think I was being realistic with how long it was going to take, and I don't think I was being realistic with how much the chest portion was going to hurt. I am definitely that weakling that has chosen to use numbing cream for most of it. And the numbing cream don't work on the chest at all. I don't know why. Maybe it's because my girls are a little stronger than others, but from sternum down, I haven't felt him tattoo me once, which I'm very lucky.
That's it. I've never heard that before.
And again, I know the community of tattooing and everything, but what made me feel better about it is you might have even said something too. I walked in with full numbing cream and everyone immediately told me, fuck yeah, dude. Yeah. Look how many tattoos you have. You've earned it at this point.
I don't want to get in. That's a philosophy I've had in tattooing my whole career, which is I'm not here to decide what this is for you. My job is to give you the tattoo you want, make it as good as I can. I'm just here to do my job.
Yeah, yeah.
If you start doing shit that's disrupting my ability to do that, then we'll talk.
Yeah.
Like you got design ideas that don't work. I need to talk to you. Some of the early creams, I think, did shit to the skin that
of course,
was weird.
I was going to say, if you're affecting your fucking palate or, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I totally get that.
Otherwise, do however you want, and I think you have earned it. And fuck, I did my front, and I wish I would have had that cream because I remember like it was yesterday. It was like I was laying there like, this is torture. I think this is what it'd be like to be captured by like an Iraqi army and put into a fucking metal cage, and they'd pull me out once a day and do this to my body.
Yeah, carve your fucking skin.
Not good.
It's so fucking gnarly, man.
I thought like sternum definitely, collarbones definitely, but right at the bottom of the titties, right where your breast turns into your rib, right? I guess that's your solar plexus.
And again, I'm lucky that I like really haven't felt it with the numbing cream. Ooh. Shout out to Numbskin. Thanks. Like I literally was like, I still don't fucking feel it. It's been 5 fucking hours. Like, am I medically okay right now? And it sucks and it hurts. And I'm just glad that like, even when I get home today, I can wrap it with whatever wrap I have, that protects it.
Derma shield.
Derma.
That shit's great.
Derm, whatever. Yeah, it's fucking awesome. Yeah. It's like, it protects it. And like, if I had that shit back in the day, dude, I got most of my fucking arm up here done, and I played a show that night. My singer got his chest done, and he did a show that night. And we're living in a van. It's all crusty. Like the progression with the healing and everything, and getting the tattoo in the first place.
That stuff's awesome. That is a huge step in the right direction for my industry. It's just hard for big pieces to put it on big stuff.
I bought myself a robe because it goes past my belt line and stuff. I didn't want to wear underwear or shorts or whatever for like days. So I'm just in this fucking robe. I'm like, this is crazy dedication for
That's the way to do it with big work. Bring your robe, bring your slippers, bring your snacks, bring your numbing cream, bring your headphones.
But instead, during the whole session anyways, I didn't even have a robe at that point. I'm just naked in your shop, freezing to fucking death because, you know what I mean? For some reason, when I get tattooed, I get really fucking cold.
Well, they keep the AC cranked over there.
Dude, so I'm literally just naked. It's just me and Sean in there. I'm just like, I'm fucking peak vulnerability, just fucking waiting for Sean to finish, do whatever. It's like, fuck, this is insane. This is intense.
That's awesome. And by the way, I'll say it out loud, Dorfler, you are a fucking beast. That guy is one of the most talented tattoo artists I've ever worked with. Piece he did on you is amazing. I know it's not finished yet, but it's getting
got
close.
some sessions. Yeah, got a couple sessions ago.
We'll let everyone take a look at it. But let's get on to. I love this from people with lots of tattoos. Worst tattoo. It could be the worst tattoo or experience or regret. That whole category.
It was just one of these Hollywood shops. And what's funny is my buddy who was like, let's go fucking do it. He had 0 tattoos, but he's like, I know the guys, let's go. Yeah. So we started getting the tattoo. Mine was done. And our buddy who's never got a tattoo, it's his moment. And he gets the tattoo and then guy keeps going. My buddy's like, what are you doing? He's like, nothing, dude. I'm finishing, whatever. And he wrote, love Tex. Tex is the artist, or I guess. So he did the Eye of Horus, and it's on his leg, I guess. The Eye of Horus, and then he wrote, and this is his first tattoo, love Tex.
Oh my God.
And he
dude.
My buddy flipped. My buddy was like,
well,
what
yeah.
the fuck did you do? And I believe he went and got
That's
it
a fight on
removed,
site.
dude. And this is his buddy, or like,
oh, that's why he took the liberty. Because they're
for
friends.
sure, yeah.
I
Dude,
forgot
if
about
someone
that
did
part.
that to me,
like a stranger.
yeah, at that point I wouldn't have given a fuck. It would have been another story. My left leg's like a collection leg, anyways. But for him, it was his first fucking tattoo. So that and again, that was one of those moments where I did not feel comfortable in that shop. Yeah. I was feeling like just ego vibes, and it just made me remember why the majority of tattoos I've had have been in someone's apartment or whatever. And I've been lucky enough that the majority of my tattoos are pretty decent. You know what I mean? Because those stories don't really end well. So I was in some dude's apartment.
Right.
I don't know where you live, but in San Diego, there's hawks everywhere, and that's like my spirit animal. Like for me, when I go and visit my parents and I just got home from tour, I see 4 hawks on light posts all the way down to their house. And that's kind of like, for me, just like a representation of like, I'm home. I'm in San Diego. Here I am. So I have, this is the part of the torso is a hawk. My left leg's a hawk. I got fucking hawks here everywhere. So I'm getting, I got most of this hawk done in Temecula with my dude, Michael Blackstone. And I made the fucking wrong choice of taking like a Norco or a Vicodin or something like that, and a tall boy. So I'm drinking a beer and I'm already on the pill and I'm like, rock and roll, right? Like, and I'm not that type of partier, but I'm just like, this is going to fucking hurt. Let's go. Almost pass out during the tattoo from being fucked up. This is a bad fucking idea. So now I'm in Austria and I'm with this tattoo artist that we know out there, and he was traveling with us, and he tattoos. He filled in the face for me, and he did all this other shit on my leg. I just had him blast wherever, and I was a drum tech during that, and we were in arenas. It's when I met In Flames, and we're in wherever the fuck now in Europe, and I can smell the tattoo from the wrap. I had the wrap with me, and I whatever,
like gangrene or something.
I could just smell. I'm like, what the fuck is that? And I'm like, oh my fucking God, it was open, like at the top. Mm-hmm. And it was fully, I'm colorblind, so I didn't know how red it was. I can't see that shit. And yeah, everyone, they pulled me to a medic because I didn't care. Whatever. Like, sometimes shit gets infected, whatever. They made me go to a medic, and they showed the medic, and the medic's like, what medic is like healing people's fucked up tattoos out there? It's not very common, you know what I mean? So the guy's looking at it, and he's like, what's wrong? Blah, blah, blah. And the person I'm with goes, there's no red in it. They're like, what? Like, that's no red all ink. Infection. And they're like, oh, and they put some, who knows what they put on it. They put something on it, and I wrapped it back up, and I did my thing.
You're lucky, because usually that's an indication of staph infection, and no topical's going to do that.
And I'm in Europe. I don't know what the fuck
they're putting on me.
Yeah.
Staph will go from there to your bloodstream, and you could die. That's you got lucky. You had a lightweight type of infection, still stinky.
Yeah.
I'm assuming this is back when you were more broke, and it was
Fuck
like
yeah.
you go into the best shop in town. It's like, I can't do that.
Fuck, and that's why. That's why I have so many tattoos. Like, if it wasn't for my friends who hooked me up, and again, I'd say half my body's probably free. Yeah, if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have the tattoos I have right now.
They're great time markers. I mean,
Yeah.
I look at my body in a mirror and I'm like, I would not remember that day. I know for a fact, but I do remember that day because every time I look at that tattoo, I remember. And it can go the opposite way too. You get tattooed by a whatever type dude, and maybe he fucking ends up stealing $1,000 from you a year later. And then every time you look at that tattoo, you're just like, son of a bitch.
My number one thing I want to happen when I'm getting tattooed is for you to be enjoying it. The last thing I want to do is go through this 5-hour process of you just like, fuck this shit. You know what I mean?
So you're getting I didn't ask you about this. I simply said, throw me an idea. And you threw out Buddha. You'll see the design here in a minute, but it's a Buddha head that's cracking open. There's a third eye emanating from the inside of this head split open. What's the Buddha? Tell me about that. I mean, I would assume you must study Eastern philosophy, or it's important to you.
Yeah. Yeah. That's an interesting one. It's like, I'm not going to sit here and like give you all I'm not going to be that eloquent with it, but with my struggles of anxiety, I've struggled with anxiety for over 10 years. And for a while it was just mostly, self-medication. I don't think I cared enough to, find natural things to help myself. So I was on Xanax for years, and, I don't think I reached that point to where I wanted to truly help myself in a really natural way. So I'll just like baby it whenever I was on tour. Who gives a fuck? I'm still pretty young, and I'll just take a Xanax when I'm struggling, blah, blah, blah. And it hit a point where I could not take that shit anymore. I did this one European tour where I just reached the peak of like the ups and downs of, oh, I'm flying to England. I'm going to take this Xanax. And I just woke up in fucking hell. To the end of my Xanax use, and it was never a lot, it was just consistent, and if you're taking Xanax consistently, even in the smallest way, it is destroying you slowly. And I recommend anyone who's on fucking Xanax get the fuck off that shit if it's consistent. It's like one of the worst things you could do for yourself, probably comparable to taking a painkiller over time or taking a muscle relaxer or whatever. Your pain tolerance probably gets fucked up and your muscles, blah, blah, whatever, fuck it. So yeah, I got to England and I was like, okay, I'm done. Like, and mind you, I'm thinking to myself, holy fucking shit, I'm in the darkest mental state of my life. And I still have 6 weeks to fucking go in Europe. I only saw the sun on that tour for maybe 20 minutes, 6 weeks. So on top of like being just in the worst headspace, yeah.
That'll cause depression in healthy people.
Fuck yeah.
Lack of sunlight.
So I got home after that and I just created this. I had 2 months off at home, so I just created this little at-home rehab for myself, aka I didn't take Xanax. But I woke up every day. I did this thing called Miracle Morning, and there's a book called Miracle Morning, and I don't know why there's a book about it. I own it, and I didn't even read it because it's just a list. You wake up, you meditate, you stretch, you read, you journal, you do some yoga. And I did that every day for 60 days. So for 60 days, I'd wake up, I did all that shit. I'd immediately go to the gym. And then I'd come home from the gym and I would meditate for 30 minutes in bed. And I got up to an hour a day. So I just fully threw my
hour. You could do an hour.
Yeah.
I meditate, and that's remarkable. Not many people can sit that long.
You gotta have the motherfucking free time first. You know what I mean? Like you gotta have, I didn't have any obligations at fucking all. And especially at that point, I was like a tech. I was living at my parents' house. I could have turned my phone off all day and it was fine. My friends were getting bummed that I had such a system that I was in, but I don't think they knew to the extent of what I was doing and why I was doing it. And I haven't really talked about this publicly much, but as much as I can, I try to spread the word of mental health awareness and stuff, especially for musicians and touring musicians. So in that couple months, I proved to myself what natural stuff like that can do for you, especially because I was in the worst place ever, and I got brought to one of my strongest places ever. And I did my first flight without Xanax, and I flew to India from LAX. Within those 2 months, I just realized how powerful yoga, meditation, reading is, and I just dove in. Lots of Eckhart Tolle. John Kabat-Zinn is another one that I really dived into. I hope I'm saying his name right. I don't really care if not. Whatever. He's got a book called Wherever You Go, There You Are. And it just teaches you how to meditate. All those books are about presence. And I dove into books by the Dalai Lama. I really dove into that side of things. And again, I didn't grow up in a church. I actually grew up with my parents pretty much telling me that shit's a cult and it's fucking weird and whatever. And I got no qualms about anyone's spirituality. And honestly, the goal I should see for most people is happiness and clarity and presence and all that shit. If you're condemning people, I'll never understand that. So that's the long and short of it is since then, I mean, I meditate every morning, depending on where I'm going with, where I'm at with my anxiety. I'm doing as much as I can for it. This year has been extremely hard for me going back into touring, going from sitting on my couch with my cats for 2 years to waking up and there's 11 people around me and there's, I'm a sponge to energy. I'm super empathetic. And again, it's not because I choose to be, it's just who I am. And touring is intense, dude. So I carry these books with me. Now I make it easier on myself. I put them all on my iPad. But I meditate every single morning. I have a million breath techniques that I do. I do Wim Hof sometimes. I do, but yeah, my mental health and my physical health is definitely
that's cool.
My number one. And with this Buddha piece, beyond Buddhism and everything, Taoism, Buddhism, the stuff that I really like, that has really helped me. I love the idea of the third eye with it too. And I know Buddha probably didn't smoke, but DMT's been a huge thing in my life as well. And again, I'm not smoking it every fucking day, but I definitely go have these sessions with my buddy, and it's a spiritual tap in to yourself. And I've out of necessity, I've had to find these things, and it's nice how much stuff is out there, especially these days with the mental health conversation.
Well, first off, it's incredible how similar we are. We've been hitting, I don't know you that well, but I have a story almost identical to you. And I have found yoga, not as much meditation. Yoga, I treat as a meditation. I used to actually meditate a lot more, but yoga, I try to use it as my...
It's all meditation.
Like, you know what I mean? I get two at once in my mind. It's like, I'm getting my exercise, I'm getting my sweat on, and I'm focusing on breathing. So
but that's a meditation, 100%.
It is a movement meditation.
Yeah.
But my yoga is important to me, not only my stretching for being a tattooer for 30 years, but also all the books you mentioned. I've read some of them, not all of them. Eckhart Tolle, I'm actually listening to Stillness Speaks right now. I don't know if you've done that one. It's so good.
Awesome.
But that's cool. And DMT, DMT was a turning point in my life. For whatever reason, I felt the need to experience, I'll use the word God. Maybe it could be the universe.
Yeah.
I was reading books that were talking about that it existed. I was reading, Paramahansa Yogananda stuff and Eckhart Tolle and Buddhist book, Buddhism, Taoism. And it was all great and it got me super pumped up. But I hit a wall where I'm like, yeah, but I don't see any of these things. I've never touched it.
And like reading it only hits so much.
Yeah, it's just someone else telling me. So... And I was sort of at peace with that. But then when I did DMT for the first time, I felt like I actually went somewhere where that actually existed.
Yeah.
I felt like it was real. And to me, to this day, I have less fear of death. I'm not saying I'm not afraid to die. I guess I probably am and will be the day I take my last breath. But I feel much more comfortable that, I'm personally convinced after, especially my DMT experiences, that there is something beyond this ego. I was there. I met entities. They knew me.
So you did the strong stuff, huh?
Oh, yeah. I fucked. This was like 12 years ago. I had the roots imported from South America. I hired a chemist. I made it.
No way.
Yeah.
Sick.
This is all just for entertainment purposes.
Yeah. He didn't. Yeah. That's sick. That's awesome.
Joe Rogan. Thanks, Joe. I was tattooing him at the time. That's how it all started. Joe was kind of saying, man, this shit was telling us the story. He actually invited me to his house. I should have gone. He's like, come to my house, man. I'll put you in my deprivation tank and you'll hit the DMT.
Whoa,
and I was too scared to do it. I'm like, oh, no, dude.
Especially if that's somewhat foreign, yeah.
Well, I'd done LSD and other things, but hearing the stories about DMT, I'm like, it was just too overwhelming. I blew it off. And then, but I finally got curious and he told us how to do it. And this is how so we did it, the Joe Rogan prescription, and it fucking worked. I went to another dimension and met beings of light, and they knew me, and I kind of knew them somehow, and all these things. So it's just funny to hear your story as you're talking. I'm like, wow, we're like parallel stories.
Sick.
That's cool.
And I used to be a huge stoner. I still am a complete advocate, but like now, fucks with my anxiety a little bit. But I was just in terms of accessibility of what you can use as a human, and we're lucky enough to live in San Diego to where that's available. I use like tons of CBD stuff now, and I'm so lucky that that kind of stuff is out there, and I'm so lucky that I can just go on Apple Music and download 10 meditations. I can go on Amazon and I can order 3 books. Like the accessibility of and the conversation of mental health and everything, it being more prominent these days allows me to keep working on myself and just in a more accessible way.
It's huge. And then for the people out there that are suffering from these ailments, I mean, my heart goes out, my empathy, my compassion, but at the same time,
you got to work.
The tools are there too.
Yeah,
like,
you know,
60 years ago, I'd have complete compassion because the poor son of a bitch 60 years ago, what's he going to do? Fly to the Himalayas and find a fucking guru in a cave?
Yeah.
Like, it's all on your phone. It's, CBD, all these different treatments.
Whatever you can find. Yeah. And you have to find your own path. And that's what I literally did it out of desperation, and I would order this book and maybe I read half, and then I got this book, obsessed with it, changed my life. That book led to this book. But it's all, you got to do the work, and you have to, depending on how much you're struggling, like you have to do it for yourself or it's not really going to work, and you got to find what's right for you. But there's a million things out there that aren't a Band-Aid pill that can help you. And I'm on Zoloft now because I was about to fucking lose myself in England, and I came home and I completely healed myself in 2 months with the power of reading, meditation, yoga. The option's out there. But if you do get to a point where it's like, okay, like you need the benefit of life, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, go and look at it. But that's what I do hate is these days that, you're struggling, you go see a doctor, he gives you a pill. Fuck that shit.
Well, yeah, it should always start with diet, exercise. That 90% of problems people are having, not just mental problems, physical problems, are usually fixed just by that.
Sunlight. I'm definitely to the peak now of like being focused on making sure my body's okay and my mind's okay and just taking care of myself.
Well, cheers to you. I'm glad we talked about that.
Yeah.
I mean, people need to hear, it's easy to look at somebody in your position and just think it's all winning all day long.
And with his jokey and whatever, like fucking whatever, no one would ever think me out of all people struggles. But like, especially these days, I have no problems talking about it with anyone. It's very real.
You might help some people, man.
Yeah.
People need to relate. People need to realize that what they're going through, a lot of people are going through.
For sure.
Fuck yeah. Well, dude, this has been rad. We're not done. We're gonna put this now, especially after that little bit you shared with us. It's time to put a Buddha on your hip. So we'll see you on the other side. All right, everybody, here we are. We're ready to tattoo. Go ahead and show them, buddy. So there it is, a little Buddha head, a little eyeball. We're gonna do some kind of, we'll see. I haven't even really figured it out completely, but I know on the fly we'll get it right. So stay tuned. Dude, what can I say? It's just been so rad getting it. I didn't know you very well before we got here, chatting with you, hearing, obviously your career as a drummer is outstanding and impressive, and everybody go check out In Flames. Obviously, just Google it. All their shit will come up. But I really enjoyed your story of overcoming some of the challenges you've had in life. Everybody has those challenges. It's just you meet too many people nowadays that pretend like they don't have them, and they're just so perfect and everything's perfect because everyone's on Instagram and they're all so pretty and everyone's on a vacation. And I just think it's important for people to be vulnerable and everyone to realize life isn't easy. We all go through our shit. And it's really cool how you found meditation and things I value, DMT, meditation, going inward to try to really figure out how to find peace.
For sure.
And I think, I'm not an expert, but I don't know anyone who's found peace any other way. I think it might be the only way. I mean, the methods are slightly different, but you always got to slow down and calm down, and meditation, exercise, diet are always going to do you better than a lot of other things. So
yeah, I'm too honest of a person when it comes to communication like this, and like getting to know somebody and not express what I've been through and the highs and the lows. Like I can never be like, oh yeah, man. Yeah, like you said it, bro. I am the shit. 8 weeks of tour, we fucking crushed it. It's like, no, I fucking struggle. I'm a fucking human. And it's a I don't know, a way of like me not only needing to humanize myself as if I'm some fucking big, I like to keep it down to earth.
Keep it real.
And I was raised to be as humble as you should be you know what I mean? And yeah, I'll always be that way. So again, when it comes to communication and talking with people, meeting new people, I'd probably crawl out of my skin if I was sitting here lying to you and telling you this story and telling you what my life seems like, or, perceptionally, oh yeah, bro, like we fucking crush shit. It's like, nah, I struggle and life is hard, even though we were talking about how some people will admire us for where we're at, you know what I mean? And it's like, we worked our asses off to be here. And we also struggle, and nothing's perfect,
100%, dude. Authenticity is needed more than ever. We live in a world of social media where it's too easy for everybody to put on the facade and never show their weakness. And it's not just me and you, I think, that are sick of it. I think the whole world is relatively sick of it. We've been fed corporate media news. It's just a bunch of bullshit propaganda. Everyone's waking up to that. And authenticity is a great thing that I value a lot. And you've got a ton of it coming out of you, man. Especially your humbleness for what you've achieved and who you are. You could easily just come in here like some rock star, swinging your big balls around and talking shit, but you didn't. Glad to have met you. Stoked to have tattooed you. I'll be Oh, I want to mention one thing, everybody. The band In Flames makes a few things, including gin, I just found out. These fools are from Sweden.
Yep.
They don't fuck around.
Yep.
They like their gin.
Yep.
They like their hot sauce, too.
Yep.
And I got this bottle of In Flames hot sauce here. I haven't tried it yet. I hear it's very hot.
It is hot. It's tasty.
But it's tasty.
Yeah, it has flavor.
It's not just about the heat. So I'll be splashing this around a little bit.
Yep.
You guys should check it out.
Yep.
In Flames website. We'll have it on our links at the end of the show.
Yep.
All right, my friend. A cheers.
Cheers, my man.
To you, a new friendship, and to your success.
Appreciate you, my dude.